Good evening and welcome to the Beaufort County Board of Education Business Meeting of May 21, 2024. This meeting is being conducted via hybrid video conferencing and is being live streamed by the county channel. We have 4 members in person and how many online? Okay, so we have a quorum. In accordance with new safety and security guidelines, bags, backpacks, and purses are prohibited by the public at Beaufort County Board of Education meetings. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker on Beaufort County School District and school-related topics. Citizens wishing to participate in public comments can do so in person or via phone. There are 2 scheduled public comment forum times during each board meeting. The first is a 30-minute session near the beginning of the meeting, which is limited to topics on the board meeting agenda. The second period is 15 minutes and takes place prior to adjournment and no later than 9 p.m. Requests to participate in public comments via phone will be accepted via email the day of the meeting from 5 to 5:30 p.m. for the first time frame and from 6 to 6:30 p.m. for the second opportunity. Requests should include the speaker's name, phone number, topic, and must be emailed to the Executive Administrative Assistant to the Board, Robin Cushingberry, at robin.cushingberry@beaufort.k12.sc.us. Requesters will subsequently receive a phone call during their respective public forum time and should be ready to speak. Citizens desiring to participate in person must fill out a public comment card that can be obtained from the board clerk upon arrival and in the meeting room. In the event the board is not finished addressing all items listed on the May 21, 2024 agenda, the board will reconvene at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening to finish the agenda items. We now need a motion to go into executive session. Colonel Geyer?
Madam Chair, I move we go into executive session for the following reasons. Number 1, receipt of legal advice related to pending and settled legal claims covered by attorney-client privilege pursuant to South Carolina Code, Section 30-4-70A2. Second, receipt of legal advice and attorney-client privilege communication regarding pending workers' compensation claim pursuant to South Carolina Code, Section 30-4-70A2. Third, a discussion of proposed amendment number 2 with Little Diversified Architectural Consulting for the Hilton Head High School rebuild, design, and construction administration work pursuant to South Carolina Code, Section 30-4-70A2. And finally, homeschool report pursuant to South Carolina Code, Section 30-4-70A1.
Okay. So the motion was made by Colonel Geyer and second by Earl Campbell. Any discussion? I can't see anything about what's happening online. So who is present online?
Elizabeth. Carlton.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions from those of you online?
No, not here.
Okay. And in person? No. All right. All in favor of going into executive session for the reasons listed by Colonel Geyer, please raise your hand in person. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Online, go alphabetically. Say your name and your vote, please.
Aye. Downside. Hey, aye.
Ms. Gordon? Okay. So we're going into executive session with 7 ayes. It was unanimous for those present. Good evening and welcome to the Beaufort County Board of Education Business Meeting of May 21, 2024. The board was just in executive session and we are now back in public session. We have 5 members in person, and those of you participating online, can you please, if you're present, just say your last name and try to go alphabetically?
Beaufort, aye. Dallas, aye. Gordon, aye. Hay, aye.
Okay, we clearly have a quorum. Thank you to those of you online and in person. So we need, do we have any action as necessary or appropriate regarding the matters discussed in executive session, Colonel Guyer?
Yes, ma'am. I move that the Beaufort County Board of Education approve the settlement authority in the pending workers' compensation case involving the female claimant, consistent with the terms discussed in executive session.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Colonel Guyer, second by Earl Campbell. Any discussion? Mr. Smith?
Due to the fact that I am not aware of what's going on, I'm going to abstain, just for our clarity. If anyone said, wonder why I'm abstaining, I'm not aware of what's going on. Thank you.
All right. There being no questions from those of you participating remotely, first we'll go with the voting in person. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And say your name when you say aye online.
Beaufort, aye. Gordon, aye. Dallas, aye. Sorry. Hay, aye.
All right, and so we don't have any noes, and we have Smith abstaining. So the motion carries. And that would be 801.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education approve Amendment Number 2 with Little Diversified Architectural Consulting for the rebuild of Hilton Head High School design and construction administrative work funded by the 2023 referendum in the amount of $4,307,000.
Second.
Okay. All right, we had a second by Victor Ney. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye that are present. Aye.
Aye.
And then online, your name and vote. Okay, thank you.
Dallas, aye.
Yeah.
Gordon, aye. Hay, aye.
All right, any nays? An abstention?
Smith abstains.
Okay, so the motion carries 801. Do you have any further motions coming out of executive session, Colonel Guyer?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, next on our agenda is a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Victor Ney. A second? Okay, thank you. Mr. Dallas, second the motion. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Online?
Dallas, aye. Gordon, aye. Hay, aye.
Any nays? And any abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, thank you. Your vote, so the agenda is approved, 801. Next, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. We will have a moment of silence for Roberta A. Smalls, who worked for Beaufort County School District as a bookkeeper for 34 years, and she passed away on Friday, May 10th. Please be seated. The media has been properly notified. So tonight, our student performance are the Hilton Head Elementary Singing Otters with their nice blue shirts, performing Follow the Rainbow and Walking on the Beach under the direction of the music teacher, Michelle Kramer. Welcome and thank you.
Follow the
morning at the elementary school at 5:30 on Thursday.
Surprising.
Thank you to the Singing Otters. Next, we have the points of celebration. Dr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, and good evening. Tonight, we begin with points of celebration, and the first item is the April Student of the Month for Southern Beaufort County. Our character education program was formed to support parents' efforts to develop good character in their children, and tonight we're celebrating the Character Education Student of the Month, exhibiting the character trait of forgiveness. Forgiveness is defined as to stop feeling anger toward someone who has done something wrong. April's Student of the Month for Southern Beaufort County is Finlay Roble, an 8th grader at Bluffton Middle School. And here to introduce Finlay is Principal Matt Hall.
We told Finley that she was going to have to speak tonight. Said, you want to tell everybody about yourself? Just kidding, Finley. I'm going to read what the teachers shared with everyone related to Finley. They wrote that Gandhi famously said, "The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong." The 8th grade Mustang of the Month, and now Southern Beaufort County Student of the Month, embodies this very belief every single day. This Mustang shows their strength through understanding, acceptance, and their forgiving personality. They do not allow themselves, their teammates, classmates, or teachers to dwell on missteps or defeats, but instead they promote learning from the mistakes and finding a path to success during moments of adversity. They do not blame peers for failures, but instead they thank their peers for their hard work, ideas, and the value they brought to the team. This student embraces the power of positivity and releases negative emotions with maturity and grace well beyond their years. Empathy and compassion come naturally to this leader, which is why it is with great pleasure that we name Finley Roble as not only our 8th grade Mustang of the Month, but as our Southern Beaufort County School District Student of the Month. So Finley, on behalf of Bluffton Middle School, this is a tremendous student. I know Dr. Rodriguez, you got to share a moment with her at the Junior Scholars Banquet, so she is a junior scholar. She is a leader in our orchestra. She is in all high school credit classes, and she is well on her way to being one of the best students you have ever seen in Beaufort County School District. So congratulations, Finley.
The next item is South Carolina Art Education Association Youth Art Month winner. March was Youth Art Month and is a celebration of the visual arts. During Youth Art Month, the South Carolina Art Education Association hosts a contest for students with winning entries featured at the SCAEA State Conference in November and at the NAEA Conference in March 2025. We learned earlier this month that BCSD has an artist who plays first in the Lower Region High School Division, Honora Mayers from Hilton Head Island High School. And here to introduce Honora is Hilton Head Island High Assistant Principal, Kristen Austin.
So you mentioned already what I had to say, but let me just reiterate that This is Lucky, and Lucky competed in the lower state region for the Youth Art Month, and she was the winner. And her drawing is a charcoal drawing called Reflection. And she not only won for our region, but she also won for the state. This is a first for Beaufort County and for Hilton Head Island High School. So congratulations, Lucky.
Congratulations, keep up the good work.
The next item this evening is Middle School Coaches' Choice Coach of the Year. In our last couple of meetings, we've recognized the coaches and players of the year for middle school fall sports. Tonight, we're recognizing coaches and players of the year for middle school spring sports. Here to introduce the coaches and players of the year are their principals. So if you'd all come up to the front and we can have you introduce your coaches and players.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ryan Milling, principal of H.E. McCracken Middle School. Proud to announce that our soccer team won our soccer championship this year, and we're excited about that. Our girls made a lot of progress, all because of Miss Reedville's dedication and seeing the good in our girls and getting them to play as a team. You guys know how important that is. So this goes to certificate of recognition. Our coach of the year for girls soccer is Emily Reedville. All right, well, also from that winning squad, we have Kendall Brimbury. You guys know there's a lot of great things that come into making a good player on a championship team, and she's a great student and great person as well. So we are proud that Kendall is our soccer athlete for Girls of the Year. Amen.
All right, thank you and welcome. I'd like to start this evening by celebrating one of our athletes, one of our baseball players, someone who, no matter what was going on in the game, gave it their all during the school day, worked hard, and was a model student and a model student athlete. So please come on up, Mr. Isaac Roman. All right, I am privileged to be able to give away a few coach awards this evening as well on their championship baseball season, where Isaac was one of the players. Please congratulate our baseball coach, Mr. Bobby Freeman. Come on up. All right, next up, on an outstanding season, her first season with this team, working hard in the mornings, after school, making the girls work hard, making them earn it every game, Miss Angelita Hedden. Come on up. Congratulations. Alrighty, and we also have our girls track coach who worked hard this season, all season long, even through planning and carrying out a wedding, Miss Haley Easter Edwards. Come on up. All right, sorry, Clint. From Beaufort Middle School, we had a tremendous spring season. 5 of our 6 teams were either the champions of the league or runners-up. And so we are very, very proud of all the success of our student athletes and very grateful for the leadership that they had on the field this year. So we'll start with our coaches who are receiving the Coach of the Year award. For our boys soccer team, Mr. Trey Austin. From our girls championship softball team, Mr. James Basil. Our longtime coach at Beaufort Middle School. This award was for Coach Fields, who has led our baseball team to another successful season. So Coach Fields, come on up and accept that award, Coach of the Year. And in track and field, this one goes to a coach who has more athletes under their direction than many other sports, 60 to 70 athletes every year. Our boys were county champions this year and the girls were runners-up. So please help me in congratulating Coach Darren Weingart on Coach of the Year for track. And we are happy to announce 2 student athletes of the year. First up from our county champion softball team, Miss Amelia Carmody.
And from our boys championship soccer team, a guy who absolutely stood out on the field, a great recognition for him. Boys Soccer Player of the Year for Beaufort County School District goes to Julian Gonzalez.
Dr. Gladys, that concludes our points of celebration this evening.
Thank you, and congratulations to the coaches and the players. Do we have any first public comments? Okay. So we do not have any first public comments tonight. For the chair report, this is our last board meeting before our graduations, and so the board members will be attending a number of the graduations, but we want to congratulate the students and their families for their academic accomplishments, and we hope to be celebrating with many of you in just another couple of weeks. Next on our agenda are the committee reports, and first reporting is Finance Chair Colonel Guyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On May 16th, the Finance Committee met, and Ms. Tanya Crosby presented the following reports: monthly Board of Education budget, monthly $100,000 report for the month of March, and the transparency report for the month of March. There were a few minor questions, all of which were answered satisfactorily. Ms. Denise Matson provided an executive summary of ESSER funds through April 30th, 2024. And again, we are on a excellent guide slope to spend all the ESSER funds before the end of the fiscal year. Ms. Crosby also presented the third quarter financial report for fiscal year 2024, and that board members have that in their packet. Highlights follow. A local property tax collection at the end of the third quarter, fiscal year 24, are reported at $199.9 million, or 102%. That's prior year allocations were 99.9%. This variance demonstrates strong tax collections. For the first time in 20-plus years, a tax anticipation note was not issued in the third quarter like we have done, because our fund balance is sufficient to cover our expenses until state revenues arrive. State revenues were $91.4 million, or 74.8% at the end of the third quarter. Prior year collections were 65.1%, so we are ahead. General fund expenditures. Third quarter fiscal year 24 spending is reported at $226.8 million, or 70.8% of the budget. Prior year spending was at 76.8%. We are also within tolerance. Under debt service fund, the SCAGO installment purchase revenue bond was paid in full in February 2024. This transaction affected both the general fund and the debt service fund in the amount of $12.6 million and resulted in taxpayer savings of $833,674. Under the Capital Projects Fund, the 2019 referendum projects are 99.3% encumbered or paid as of March 31st, 2024. Lastly, Denise Matson provided a Title I overview, and she's going to come up and give the full board, a briefing of this. The Finance Committee had many questions and asked that Ms. Matson brief the board and an overview so that you are familiar with the issue, and then that we will talk about it at detail, great detail, at an upcoming work session. So, Ms. Mattson?
Good evening. Thank you, Chair. and Board.
Good evening.
Could you speak into the mic, please? Thank you.
This one. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you. You have provided in your packet a 3-page overview. Briefly, I put everything on a one-pager so that you would have that easily accessible. First, I broke down what is Title I. Title I is just one of our federal funding programs. It is the largest one that we have, and it's been law since 1965, so it's been around a long time. There's been changes to it over the years. Currently, we have 18 schools that are Title I, Beaufort County schools, and we also have 2 private schools who participate in equitable services with that program. And how does it work? Was the next section you'll see there. Briefly, we are allocated an amount of money it comes from the federal government through the state to us every year. Actually, we have been seeing a decline in our allocation over the past couple years. It's totaled to about $500,000 there. So when we receive that allocation, the state also sends us the percent of pupils in poverty at each of our schools, and we actually will then determine a pupils in poverty percentage. And you can see the list of schools if you'll look at Table A of your document. So I will take each of our schools, and you can see they have a PIP, or pupils in poverty, percentage far right with each school, and they're simply ranked order by that poverty percentage. The law requires that you must serve schools at 75% or above. That's a requirement. But after that, you have some flexibility of how you look at your schools. Beaufort County does a grade span. So after we do our mandatory schools, we then sort each of the grade spans by the pupil and poverty percentage. The table at the bottom of this shows our percentages that in the first area, it says elementary. Any school that their PIP is above 55, they are Title I. They are eligible for Title I services. And then in the K-8, we have the same breakdown in middle schools. The 65% is the number that we look in a grade span to see who would actually be served there. And then high schools, 75% is their percentage of serving. We review this with leadership every year to look at if we want to adjust what our percentage is in serving. The little red lines in your sections, that's the number, those are the schools above that line are the ones we serve. And you can see that. So that's how we decide, that's how it's decided who's actually receiving Title I funds. You can tell that Beaufort County does go down to a lower percentage rate with elementary because early intervention has been the model for that. And so that's the process that we've gone into. We do look to see how the schools are changing in that. An interesting thing on this is any school over 40% could be eligible for Title I funds. However, when you do that, you spread it real thin among everybody because you only get one amount. It doesn't change based on the number of schools that you have. So that's how we decide who is actually Title I. And then your last page will show you the schools that were school-wide programs. And that's what we have, a Title I school-wide program in these 18 schools. And you can see the far right is what their current year allocation is.
Are there any questions?
Yeah. So actually, you're telling me that in this far, in this far green column, is the actual amount of money that each school is being allotted through the total of funds that we receive?
The Title I program, yes.
Through the Title I program, she's correction, right, on that. And you said the district make the decisions upon this money based on the percentage that they're given? Is that correct?
Correct. That's who's actually served there. And then each of them, you get a per pupil amount based on the number of economically, or pupils in poverty on their school. It's a calculation. If you go across the top line, you see their total enrollment, how many students are PIP, their percentage, what type of Title I service they get is school-wide. This school gets 900 per PIP, so for 252,000. And then also a requirement is to spend parenting funds at each school, and they get $11 per PIP student for a total of 255.80 there.
And also exactly what's the and going from to I know it's to enhance the educational process, but what exactly can this money can and cannot be spent on? Can you educate the public on that?
What it cannot be spent on?
Well, the question is, what can the money what can the money be spent on, and what can't the money be spent on? Could you educate the public?
The money is spent on educational only for that, and it's to meet your school goals there. So it's, but there are lots of rules of what you can't spend it on. Most people do a staff member, an extra staff member. They do supplies, additional supplies. There's tutors that come in. So there's lots of ways. It's really educational uses.
So, now, for instance, like a parent university, it could be done.
For parenting education, yes, that is a excellent activity.
Okay. And what can it be spent on?
Food, for one. There's always one of those.
Right.
Let's say entertainment. It's not allowed for entertainment. If you want to take your students on a co-curricular field trip, something that's tied to standards, that's allowable, but you can't take them to a place like Carowinds for entertainment. So we call those educational experiences. There's also a lot more in this, that each of the activities and how they spend it has to support a goal that is in their school renewal plan, and also that they've identified it as a need.
I'm sure if anyone else have any questions.
Do we have any questions from those of you online?
Again, we're going to be talking at great detail on this, on exactly how the funds are broken out in a work session. There's a lot of moving pieces. So we really didn't want to try to deal with all those questions tonight, but to put it at a work session.
Okay, well, I'll just say that I'm looking forward to being more taking a deeper dive in this kind of conversation in terms of the educational components of this sooner rather than later, because this is some valuable information, and I think that the general public and everyone should understand it and understand the importance for us to continue getting these funds and also pushing for these funds, and because this is maybe funds that other schools or some schools aren't getting that we may need to push for. But anyways, it's just good information, and there's a lot of questions out there. Thank you.
Madam Chair, before I have two motions to give from the Finance Committee, but before I do, are there any questions from the full board as to the reports that I have given thus far?
None here.
All right, anybody online want to ask any questions? Okay, in person, go ahead.
I don't have any, that's all I was gonna say.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Smith?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, thank you.
None here, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, in person, Mr. Smith?
Colonel Guy, Mr. Guy, you said earlier that there was a question that the Finance Committee have, a couple of questions that they had, but they were answered. Could you elaborate on that, what those questions were?
Okay, right. There was a number of entries that were warrants. There were warrants given out, and payments were given, and basically those were garnishments. But anytime I see anything on there to an individual, not a company, I question why that individual is getting paid. And in this case, the individual that's getting paid is actually the attorney, not the individual that has been hit with not a warrant, but a garnishment of their pay. But those are the kind of questions that I look for and the board looks at, the committee looks at, is unusual entries, large dollar entries. And we ask why. Well, there was one entry that was larger than others, but we found out that it was a multiple payment. And that's why it was higher than the rest. These were reimbursements to employees. And there was one that was, most of them are $40, $50. One of them was about $1,400. But what they did was they consolidated their request for reimbursement, and they paid them in a lump sum with the consolidation. That's the kind of thing that we look at and spend time at the committee level every month when it comes in.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair, I have two motions. These are motions that come every year. One of them has to do with grants, allowing the superintendent to apply for grants. And the second motion is about filing of our E-rate funding to the federal government. And so the first motion I will give now. I move that the Beaufort County Board of Education approve the resolution to authorize the superintendent or designee to apply for, sign, submit, and administer federal, state, local, and foundation grant applications and cooperative agreements for the 2024-2025 school year.
Okay, thank you. Colonel Guyer made the motion. Mr. Campbell seconded the motion. Any discussion? Mr. Ney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could you maybe go into a little bit of detail as to why we have to do this every year and why we can't just make it a standing policy?
Ms. Crosby? Ms. Crosby?
Did you hear the question?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes, ma'am. So in our administrative rules, the district policies, OS 7, which is an operational expectation, or not an expectation, but operational services, excuse me. It does require that we annually come before the board to get approval for this authorization. So this is in compliance with that district administrative rule. So.
Mr. Smith?
And with that, I do remember us talking about that one time before, and I think, his reach so that everyone's on the same page, I believe, as well, and that once what grant stuff come before the district, that they do bring that stuff back to us and let us know. So I think it's more of us holding the district accountable and the district being held accountable. So I think it's a part of our job, a function of the board's job. So I see no problem with it. So I mean, yeah, just from me learning when I asked that question one time before. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. And online, name and vote.
Beaufort, aye. Gordon, aye. Dallas, aye. Pay, aye.
All right, so the motion carries 9-0-0 unanimously for those present.
Madam Chair, I move that the Beaufort County Board of Education authorize the filing of E-rate funding year 2024 applications for eligible E-rate Category 1 services, and that by doing so, the board acknowledge that it will budget for sufficient funds to pay for the district's share of the services that are not supported by the E-rate program.
All right, Colonel Guyer made the motion, and Mr. Earl Campbell seconded the motion. Any discussion? Mr. Smith?
That seemed to be a lot. Could you elaborate on that a little bit in terms of what that looked like?
So E-rate is a program through the Federal Communication Commission. It is a program specifically for schools and libraries. So it helps to make communication systems, telecommunications and internet systems affordable for schools and libraries. So this program provides a discount for school districts where they would reimburse us 80% of certain services that are they have a Category 1 and a Category 2. Category 1 is what we're talking about this evening, and it has to do with telecommunications services and internet. Those for our district are paid to Hargray each year. And the amount that we are paying this year is estimated to be $715,000. If we receive what you are authorizing this evening is that the district will compensate, will pay our share, and in order for the federal government to reimburse us 80% of that. So our net cost will be $143,000 after the federal rebate. So this is a benefit to the district through a federal program. It does require annual, each time we apply, we are required from the federal government to get that approval each year.
Ms. Boatwright?
Thank you. I have a similar question. Is the second part of that motion, so we're acknowledging that we're budgeting sufficient funds. Have we done that? I don't remember. I'm not sure exactly what's included in the.
Could you repeat your question? I didn't hear you. I apologize.
Responsible for it.
So, Ingrid, you broke up a little bit. Can you just repeat what you said?
Sure. Is this any better at all?
A little bit, yes.
All right. Just help me clarify the second part of that motion.
Yes.
The part that we need to acknowledge and sufficiently budget for.
Yes, we budget for the Hargray services in our telecommunications budget. It is in the operations category or a program. And so that budget covers the full 100% of the amount of the district share. The 100% of the amount of the total services. When we receive rebates back, which could be a year or 2 or 3 from now, which are relatively lag behind after our request and reimbursement, then those go back in as a revenue source in the federal revenue section of our financial statements in the general. So it goes back into the general fund and helps offset the costs. So we do sufficiently budget 100% of those costs annually, and they are in your FY24 and FY25 budget, proposed budgets as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question? Ms. Boatwright?
Yes, I just want to make sure I understood
Okay.
what was involved in that. So
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions from those online? Okay. ready to vote. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Boatright, aye.
Dallas, aye.
Gordon, aye. Hay, aye.
All right, so the motion carries unanimously, 9-0-0. Dan?
Madam Chair, that concludes,
We only have 4 online. Rachel is online now?
Yeah, that's not 5 here.
Yeah, but she just told me there's 10. Pardon me? I thought 9 and there's 5 in the room. 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay. Well, yeah, we just want to be sure it's accurate. Thank you, Robin. All right, we're good.
Madam Chair, that concludes the Finance Committee report.
All right, thank you, Colonel Guyer. Next on our agenda is operations reporting, and that is Chair Carlton Dallas, and he is online. Carlton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had some good meetings since our last meeting and presentation. A couple of things we'll highlight. The basics are that the 2019 referendum is right at closure. And with the spending and the paid in, there's just a few million. One thing that we are working in collaboration with the finance people is really focusing on closeout. But overall, we're very pleased with the performance of the collective teams. There also is items coming, bond 2019 bond referendum. The remaining projects really is Robert Small, where we have a small minor red there, but everything else is green. Only 30 project closeouts remain, meaning 190 projects have been completely closed out to date, which is 99.14% of projects completed, and contingency remaining is $826,000. So 2019 referendum is looking good, particularly when you look in view of all the challenges with COVID and supply chain and what have you. So kudos to the team on that. Moving to the 2023, of course it's early. All projects are green. May River High School, the front entrance, are rendering, reworking our costs to ensure own budget. Glad to see that the team is really looking at things where we can de-cost without negatively impacting the quality and the aesthetics of what's being built. Hilton Head also is moving forward. You saw in the motion to approve the payment for the design. Things are moving forward there. If you haven't seen the facility itself, you can now see some of the mobile management, leadership, construction units that are on site. There's a lot of buzz in the community, a lot of buzz. We actually are presenting on Thursday to a group where, we've been asked specifically because of the energy that's developing along there. The other item that is very important is the groundbreaking took there on May 8th. That has been well received and publicized, and we're going to have the contingent for our construction, Superintendent Rodriguez. He's been invited. Largest POA on Hilton Head, which has about 25% of the voting population, because that POA is so close to the Hilton Head cluster of schools, and there's a lot of energy and a lot of young families that want to know what's actually going on, and they're very excited about that. The other item I do want to spend a little bit more time on is, additionally, the 8% planning has maxed out per basic consensus at $30 million. We have also been fortunate that the teams collectively have achieved that target at $29.9 million. However, in consultation with finance and our bond advisor, efficiency, if we potentially go to a little bit higher project planning. And so we basically have moved one of our meetings so that we can spend a very clear, singular focus on those projects, the ones that we want, so that we can bring those back to the board. So I think Ms. Crutchfield is there. Ms. Crutchfield, who was very instrumental in helping move some of the custodial maintenance. She's going to fill in for that. Ms. Crutchfield, if you will be so kind, if you're there.
I am here, thank you. So I'm filling in for Robert and for Brandy. So we did give an update on maintenance and as custodial at the last operations committee, and they reviewed materials through the month of April for custodial. There were no inspections or staffing violations that were noted during that period. The service provider is showcasing successfully completing spring cleaning services at multiple locations and recognizing employees of the month. The custodial services request for proposal solicitation has been published with a deadline for submittals of May 31st. Custodial school tours were completed with multiple vendors who were interested in that contract, and we had a great turnout for that. It was a 2-day tour for those folks. Maintenance work order data and quarterly trending graphs were presented to the committee as well. No staffing violations during that reporting period. The maintenance service provider showcased successfully completing various small projects at multiple locations and a school blitz at Okatee. And then that is all. You may have a question. Any questions? Mr. Smith?
I would just like to I would have a question, I have a comment, in terms of Mrs. Brandy, last name now?
Majors.
Mrs. Majors, yeah, Major. I'd just like to, I give out comments publicly. My mom said you spanked me publicly. I spank you publicly and I praise you publicly. Mrs. Major in that department has done a wonderful job they have really came a long way from someone who's been on operations committee since I've been on the board up until prior, but beyond that, I still watch that committee, and Mrs. Major has done a wonderful job with showing us exactly what we have and the quality of a person who takes pride in their work and showing us exactly what the work orders and what maintenance departments really looks like. So I just want to give a kudos out to her publicly and let you know, Dr. Rodriguez, we do appreciate that, what that department brings and what she's been bringing with that, because her work is very hard, and you can see it in the presentation. Thank you. Thank you too as well.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Totally agree.
Do you have any other information, Mr. Dallas?
No, ma'am, no.
All right, well, thank you for your report. So no motions, right, coming out of operations today?
Correct.
Thank you. All right, that completes our committee reports for the meeting. Next up are the superintendent's report. Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Dr. Guads and board members. This evening, under Superintendent's Report, Dr. Stratos is working her way up, and under goal number 1, student achievement, she's going to cover grant submission, summary update for the board.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for your earlier motion. You're supporting my presentation. Board members, you have 2 documents that are included in your board docs. Your first one is titled Beaufort County School District Grant Submission Table. I'll go through this quickly. What I do want to share, you'll see that there are 2 items, number 1 and number 6, which are highlighted. This table shares that these 2 grants will not have any impact on personnel. So the table gives you the name of the grant, the amount of funding, a quick narrative, the term of the grant, date of notification, and again, if personnel will be impacted. I'd like to look at item number 1, for example, 21st Century Grant, where we are a partner. That grant is outside of us. We are not a fiscal agent. However, it does benefit our school system for an estimate of $3 to $5 million. What I do want to share with you with this grant listing is that there's a potentially $43,314,837 in the grants on this table, which I believe is significant for us as a system. I wanted to point that out because as we go forward from prior years and going into the future, we will continue to seek for additional funding for our school system. I'd like to go to the next document that you have, which are executive summaries of the grant. These grants in this executive summary, you are familiar with one, which will be the last one that I did present to you. It is a Magnet Schools Assistance Program grant for the Hilton Head Cluster. But I'd like to start at the very beginning, just to give you some idea of the U.S. Department of Education grants that we have reached out in collaboration with a grant group. Your first grant focuses for site-based mental health. It is through the U.S. Department of Education. The total request is for $14,983,687. This grant focuses upon 3 goals. Goal number 1, recruiting qualified personnel to work with our students for mental health. Even in the sense of recruiting school counselors to get their clinician licensing to become counselors beyond that of just, and I don't mean it by saying just, but as a person does their master's in counseling, you have a choice of either going school counseling or mental health. It would allow our school counselors to have both opportunities as professionals. Second goal is obviously high-quality PD in order to build that capacity of our educators. And the third goal is expanding access to mental health for all students within Beaufort County School District. I do want to emphasize that specifically. Your second executive summary is actually in an area that's something you may recall, AVID, which was brought forward by Beaufort Middle School, and I brought to you a local board course for your approval at the middle school. This is a Gear Up grant. Once again, through the U.S. Department of Education, the value to our school system is $8,730,150. In this, there are 3 goals, and let's remember that AVID is self-advocacy via individual determination. The 3 goals are to increase academic performance of students, high school graduation rate increase, provide opportunity of post-secondary experiences, and deepening the knowledge of our community and families in regard to these post-secondary experiences. For this grant, this is targeting 4 of our high schools within Beaufort County, which are eligible based on, which happens to be wonderful that Ms. Matson's presented earlier, because it is based on PYP. I mean, pupils in poverty numbers, so that's what has given us our eligibility. The next grant, you'll see, it is called the Catalyst Grant. This is out of Charleston. They are a foundation. This grant is focused, the title is Unite, and I'd like to take a moment. Unite has been designed around the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. Unite seeks to build upon Beaufort County School District's extended learning opportunities. This grant is seeking funding for $4,476,000, and we actually just received notification of our site visit for June 4th. I did want to share that. We are preparing our presentation and work for that. The goals for this grant is to increase student academic performance, obviously, rebuild, strengthen trust within our system. If we say we're going to do something, let's do it. And the third one is access to extended learning out of traditional settings. And as I mentioned as I started, within the executive summaries. The final grant is the Magnet Schools Assistance Program. Just share that it is $15 million that we're seeking from the U.S. Department of Education. And each federal grant, I do want to highlight, is that the award information is provided on September 30th. That is across the board for federal grants through the U.S. Department of Education, which means should we be awarded, grants will start immediately on October 1st, 2024. So I appreciate your time, and I wanted to bring you some summaries for this afternoon. Thank you.
Dr. Wisniewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Stratos. You know, this is something that I love and is near and dear to my heart. My question is on the summaries. It doesn't say for how long these particular grants are given for.
Yes, ma'am. So if possible, if I may have you go to the first document, I do apologize.
All right, I was looking at the summary.
Yes, ma'am. Noted. 5 year is the average on the term.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Noted. I will make sure I include that in the future.
Ms. Boatright?
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. One question I have with the mental health grant. Will we then be, as a district, hiring mental health counselors and they will be our employees, or are we going to be contracting and bringing in site-based mental health?
Perfect, wonderful question. So the response that if it determined a grant, it gives us a program grant director and 21 in-service providers, either already licensed or those who seek who are school counselors to obtain their clinician licensing in order to be a counselor, and that would be for the term of the grant, and that would be part of the hiring requirement, also listed in the job description.
So just to clarify, you're saying that they will be BCSD employees?
Yes, ma'am, for the term of the grant.
Okay. So we need to be careful because there are a lot of pitfalls. This is highly sensitive, personal health information, HIPAA, FERPA. When they are our employees, it's under FERPA. I am 99% sure. So I just want to be very, very careful because it's a big difference who employs them as to what level of privacy those records have and parental consent and all of that. So hopefully whoever gets hired as the site-based user will understand that.
Yes.
The site-based programmer.
So the site-based director, and that is an absolute yes, and recognize that funding is also for outside agency, but within BCSD. Mrs. Boatright, that should that be violated, that is loss of licensing and then person is also subject to other items, but yes, noted.
Can I ask one more question? I can't see it.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. On the Gear Up grant, there's a lot going on in that Gear Up grant, and I'm hugely in favor. I love the idea of FAFSA counseling. Applying to college is overwhelming. And it's really overwhelming for parents, and especially if you don't speak English, if you're remote working multiple jobs. For the schools to provide a higher level of support, I think is a great idea. One thing though that I noticed is when we talk about post, how we track people after they leave our system. I would like to expand that to include what I think is going to be a growing industry of partnerships with universities, but that are really more apprenticeships, maybe tying into the CAPE program. Would we be able, or is this strictly for college?
So if I understand your question directly, the opportunity for post-secondary experiences can be within a career technical education avenue as well, because we recognize that those, let's just say for electrician, and that could either be obtained through the technical college of the Low Country within us, for us here, or if a student applies to Trident up in Charleston area. So yes, those opportunities do exist.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Smith?
In terms of how much the actual grants for, when do we find out how much the actual grants are? And what is the process of spending that money, what that looks like?
Well, the process would be a rather lengthy conversation, but I'll start from the very beginning in the sense, we may ask for, let's just say, $5 million, but we may be awarded $4 million. With that, we have to work with the grant office, in this case, let's say the U.S. Department of Education, they would give us a program manager. And with that program manager, prior to accepting an award, we have to redefine our budget and give the justification of the why we may cut $1 million. And then the reallocation, that would then be reviewed by the program manager based on our justification. And then if awarded, at that point to say, yes, we'll give you the $4 million. Then that actually works with our district. Most of these grants, we will be the fiscal agent. As a fiscal agent, our office, our division works very close with finance to remain in compliant in operation to meet all compliance necessary for the federal government, as well as state and procurement code for the school district.
Right. The reason why I'm asking is just because one of the questions that was brought up today, and I was just someone asked me before, in terms of what do our grant funding look like and how much money do we get as a district for grants? And I was like, yeah. I said,
You have it now.
Right. Yeah. So I was like, let me get back to you. I said, I ain't gonna tell you the lie. I ain't gonna tell you I do know, but let me check on that. And so that just made me, thank you for giving this to us. But I was just wondering, at some point in time, maybe I think that an update throughout a couple of times throughout the year, just to let us know, how the grant money is getting in terms of the educational process, what that look like, and how we make utilization of it, so that I think that would be good to help not just the community, but also further agencies know that Beaufort County is good to give money to, because they're actually making good utilization of it to our students and but towards students' achievement. And I say that may help us along the way in obtaining more grants. So,
Madam Chair, may I add an item? So if you look at the landscape document, the last item, item 6, this is actually out of our foundation here in Hilton Head. I know it looks small in regards to other grants, but it's $125,000 that to help us in developing a learning adult lab for students to observe what's happening. Let's use this role for an example, that we have a class on the other side. So we have becoming teachers, those who are at USCB, observing class on the other side. We have to follow and do reports, Mr. Smith, biannually to the foundation to show them that we're spending how we said we would spend, and that what is our mark towards getting our goal. So those are requirements for all these grants. The federal ones, I will share with you that those reports will run from 50 to 100 pages. They're not easy, but they're very cumbersome, but they are very detailed at support, and they go to the program manager respectively of each grant at the U.S. Department of Education.
right. Well, actually, I am personally aware of that, what that process looked like.
Okay.
Because I used to have an aunt, and you used to.
So you know.
So I am educated on that process.
Yes, sir.
But once again, I just think that in terms of the board level, if something ever comes up, we can say we've been looking at it, or we've seen that. So I mean, even maybe a forward of those reports, just to knowledge and knowing, I
Yes,
think
sir.
it's good. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Stratos.
Thank you.
Okay, this evening, the next item in the superintendent's report is related to cell phones, and it's a follow-up to our last meeting. In your board materials, you would have an executive summary. You would have a current SS 27 regulation, and you would have an SS 27 initial, I'm going to highlight that, initial draft with revision. And I say that because this section for this evening is going to be just for information only in terms of what we're doing. My purpose is not to have really a weigh-in on the draft or anything like that, because ARs, when they first get a draft, they start out looking like this. Final products are different, right? Because there's a lot of vetting, there's a lot of changing and adjusting and everything that goes through the process of producing an AR that in the end would come to you, for information. So I just want to be clear, I am well aware that that is a first draft, and that's really where I want to leave that, because I know there's work to be done on it. But the board's motion Directed the superintendent to research possible options for an admin regulation that would prohibit cell phones during instructional time, and options should be presented at the next board meeting for further board discussion. During that board meeting, once that motion was made and approved by the board, I immediately got up. I went over and spoke with Dr. Lee, and I said, I want a committee. I want subcommittees established in that so that every subcommittee takes on different things. This is a highly complex matter. It's not simple, and to be honest with you, it really isn't something that can be thrown together in 2 weeks. And I think it needs to not only consider what the final decision is around cell phones and instructional time, banned for instructional time, or banned for the whole day, or whatever stipulations. It also has to consider enforcement. And that's where it gets
Sticky.
yes, sir, and the most challenging, okay? And so really, we're looking, we need more time on this. In addition, the South Carolina General Assembly has a bill out there, and there are two variations of that bill. Number one says ban for the day, ban from school, okay? The second one says instructional time. So they're doing two different things with those options. It is my understanding they're taking that up in June, and they will be making decisions in June, okay? What I have laid out here in terms of the executive summary is some of the work that we have begun. Those subcommittees are going to be looking at what is the current state, what have other districts done in dealing with this topic, what are possible tools to use in dealing with the topic, an implementation plan with considerations for potential issues such as around enforcement, for example, and in addition, consider gathering parental feedback on the topic. Two things on that. Number one, I think it is imperative that we continue our work and our research and our planning, and let's find out what the final ruling is from the General Assembly before we move, because we don't want to be in a position where we move and then have to backtrack or then have to shift gears or something like that. My understanding is that bill or those considerations, right, have funding attached to that there could be loss of funding or those kinds of things. So this is not a kick the can down the road thing. This is, let's see what comes from the General Assembly ruling or requirement. But in the meantime, we're going to be preparing to bring something back to the board. And then whichever way that pans out in terms of legislation, then we'll be better positioned to pivot, and only one communication ultimately around what the final decision would be to parents and families, so that there isn't one communication and then a change in communication, and then we create a mess around that, right? So this is why I think it's important that we wait, we see what they act, but in the meantime, we are doing our work in our preparation for what I think the board was clear as a group in terms of what the board is seeking, certainly in this area around cell phone and cell phone use. Obviously, I think we all understand there's an impact there, and I think everybody generally feels like, I'm not going to say everybody, most seem to feel like there's something that needs to be addressed, okay? And so we will move with our research towards that end, but in the meantime, while we're researching, while we're building and revising our AR, we're going to be looking at not just what schools, districts in South Carolina have done, but also what's happening across the nation. And we know that there are even internationally things that have been done, right? And so all of those things are what our subcommittees are going to be reviewing, researching, and finalizing. But I understand the board's intent is that next school year, we have something around that. And with that in mind, that is the update and the follow-up. You have my executive summary. I didn't want to go through step by step, but I did think I covered the highlights of it.
Dr. Wisniewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we know when the legislature adjourns for this session? Is this just one bill that they're taking up?
I do not know, and I would doubt it's just one bill, but I do think from what I understand, they're tackling this in June.
Okay. And the goal for us as a board is to have something buttoned up in terms of an AR by the beginning of the school year next year.
Yeah, well, I want to see what they do in June, but we want to start the year with something, right? So if
So there will be something in place before school starts.
we will have something, yes. And whether they act or they don't act, that's the direction I felt I heard from the board, that the board wanted something before the year started so that we wouldn't be trying to do something mid-year or that, right? That we wanted to start the year in one form or another around this topic, right? And so our intent is to follow through with that. However, I think it's wise that we see what happens from the General Assembly on this issue.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just had one comment in regard to the draft, and I recognize it's a draft. It discusses the building principal believing that an electronic communication device may have some content on it that may violate law. And it uses the word, the principal may contact law enforcement. I would prefer that says they will contact law enforcement and let law enforcement take it from there. I think that's the more appropriate measure. The word may just leaves too much discretion up on that.
Noted.
Thank you.
All of those things, language will be buttoned up, but additionally, there's a lot in that AR, and sometimes maybe there's a way to get that trimmed down so that it's not as expansive as that is, but it is trying at the moment to, I think, to capture various electronic device options and those kinds of things. So I think it's trying to capture all of that. Obviously, we use electronic devices in schools as part of our instructional modalities. And so those are it's a draft. That's the best way to say it. First draft.
All right, next we have Elizabeth Hay.
Oh, I was gonna let Ingrid go first because she had her hand up first.
Okay, I did not know that, but thank you. We'll go Ingrid, then Elizabeth.
Thank you.
What a chivalrous move. Can you guys still hear me okay? Because Chicago's weather is a little dicey. Am I coming?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So a couple things. First of all, thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. I think you did capture the intent of the board, which is let's get a move on, but that doesn't mean we don't do the necessary research around it. For me, what I'm really interested in seeing is you take a state like Florida, they've had this ban in place for a year for instructional time, and all the districts have done different things. And I'm really interested to hear, how they've done it for a year, what worked, what didn't work, are they changing it, what changed? Every school district doesn't have to reinvent the wheel in this situation. I think enforcement is the key issue here. And what I'll tell you is interesting, in our student handbook for this year, we actually already have a policy that says students' use of personal electronic devices during school hours is not permitted unless teacher directed. School officials shall confiscate all such unauthorized equipment, depending on whether the offense is the first, second, or third offense. I don't think I can say that is not happening. I think that when we look at what our options are, enforcement is the key. It's not a policy decision. And if we make this where we put in the classroom to enforce this, I think we're setting it up for failure. We need to really look at how we can make this functional, because we already have that policy. We didn't have the AR, but that is on the student handbook for this current school year. And like they said in the research, 77% of schools already have bans on cell phones, but it is very, very challenging to enforce it. Kids are addicted, coming out of COVID in particular. They're surreptitious in their use. And even if they have them off, sorry, what's that mean? Okay, even if they have them off or, silence in their bag, they're still going to be hearing vibrations. They're still going to see them light up. That's the piece to me that is going to require the most research on our part on how to be effective. Thank you.
Go ahead. Dr. Rodriguez
Just
wants to
in-
respond.
Yeah, in keeping pace. No, I understand, what you're saying, Ms. Boatright, and I agree, enforcement is where it's trickiest. But I would also like to just say that, it's important to realize that this kind of thing is a single school culture solution, which means that teachers are a part of the equation. Okay? It would be naive for us to think that 3 people or 4 people in an administrative capacity at a school are going to be able to capture all of this for 1,400 kids in a school, right? The reality is that it takes everyone in the building to do that. Now, the key is, what is the process when there is an issue, right? And certainly administrators are the ones that are equipped to come and if you have to deal with the issue because there's a non-compliance, right? But the alert of a non-compliance is about everybody in the building. And everybody in the building saying, this is how we do business here, right? And so I think we should understand that there is a role for everyone in the building to play. We can't just say that that teachers shouldn't have to deal with this because they're going to have to. That's just the reality, right? And now, to what extent and where does that transition over to the role of the administrator? And then what are the consequences and what is the enforcement component of it? And those are all the things that need to be researched and worked out.
Elizabeth Hay?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just echoing what Dr. Wisniewski and Ms. Boatright already said. However, really want to lean in on having multiple plans in place for the beginning of the school year, which I think is what Dr. Rodriguez is saying as a whole, is sort of like a plan A, plan B, plan C, depending on what comes through with legislation. However, I just wanted to raise a flag. According to other board members I know at our capital, Columbia, these bills went to committee and have not been scheduled, as far as I'm aware, through others. So my concern there is simply, I don't want to wait around I wouldn't want us as a county to wait around hoping that this is going to come to some resolution in June that never comes. And then we're ill prepared because, as we all know, the start of the school year comes quickly. So I would just love to see, and I'm sure Dr. Rodriguez will do this because just watching how he behaves with planning, but a plan A, B, C type of scenario, so we're not scrambling right before school year starts. That's all.
So next is Mr. Smith.
First, let me start by saying that in terms of the plan that Rodriguez laid out, in terms of following the state legislative process, in terms of them coming up and them bringing something to the floor for the public, I think that's the sensible thing to do, with the understanding that having Dr. Leach and her team spend time on this. On this, visiting it 2 times is hindering staff when staff could be more focused on the educational process and the learning loss that we've had in this district and closing that gap that we still have. So I think that would give the staff more time to focus on other areas, because this is, like as he said, this is a lot going on. There's a lot of moving pieces, and I think one of my colleagues, because she just brought up a great point. We don't have to rush and run because apparently we already have a policy in place. So the question is, when it comes to discipline and it comes to the district, we may need to reactivate. Like how you crank up your car, sometimes you crank it up and and then you crank it up again and it cranks right up. Sometimes you might need to reactivate across the district and remind people of policies throughout the year. if you've been on the battlefield, you've been in the classrooms, or if you've been in one of these positions, and you understand that certain parts of the years you have certain things going on, so you intend to put more emphasis on certain things. Even at board meetings, certain board meetings, we put emphasis as a board sometimes on different things. So now, if it's that important, then maybe we might need to reactivate those policies and let everyone know that those policies do exist, and this is where we at with those policies, starting from the board level. Another question, another thing I want to respond to in terms of one of the colleagues they were talking about the contacting law enforcement. One thing I want to let the public and let all board members know is that you have two different. You have school law and you have street law. School law is a little bit different than street law. When you find stuff on these kids' phones and tablets, you have to be very careful on how you respond, who you tell immediately, the steps and what that looks like. So once again, I'm sure that we will have legal on this, and legal being a part of this. But school law and street law are different measures. So you just can't go up to a kid, grab his cell phone, and call law enforcement, and don't notify the parent. There's a process. So if we would work when we work on one hand of this, if we're gonna put that in there, make sure that we're gonna let the parent know as well, and somewhere in there, parental guidance is known, because I've gotten phone calls about those in the past. So I just want to be clear on that we understand that they're two different. There's some different rules here. So I don't mind us letting law enforcement know. I'm sure you're the kid. Yeah, you're gonna let law enforcement know, but at the same time, also we want to let the parent know, because you don't want a kid feel as though they're being attacked or they're being cornered, and they have no one else in their corner except for grown adults that are asking them questions. So I just want to put that out there. Yes, I do publicly stand by that. So, but in terms of this policy, I just think that Rodriguez, in terms of where we're heading at, letting the legislative, as I've said before, finish out understanding what they're going to drop down and what they're going to demand us, because my same question goes to them too as well. When you make these demands, are you going to give us some funding to support these demands? Can't just drop balls on us and say, hey, you want it to be done. How are you going to help us out? Who, where, what, when, why, how? Teachers are quitting at an all-time high. This is something that's going to be important. At some point in time, they're going to have to be held accountable too. So how are you going to help them out? Thank you.
So next up, we have Chloe Gordon.
Madam Chair, I've been listening and reading, but mostly listening to what my colleagues are saying, and everyone has a valid point here. Something has to be done so that when students enter the classroom, the focus is instructional. So the teacher can go about his or her business of educating our children. No, they do not need the distractions. Having been one of those administrators who has taken a cell phone or asked for the cell phone, and the responses are varied depending on the child. You have some children who will give you the phone. You have some children who will cuss you from your head to your toe, because that's their phone. The AR is good. I know that we need something to come in with strong to our children, that we're not taking their phones, but we're merely trying to get through the educational day. This is going to be difficult, whether we write the AR or not, because at the end of the day, people, it depends on the child. And our teachers have a hard task when they ask for a cell phone. The kids do not want to give them up. I don't care what that piece of paper says. So maybe we're looking at it upside down. Maybe we should get some feedback from some of the kids because in order for it to work, they have to comply. Teachers cannot do all this at the beginning of the class, and then at the end of the class, they gotta give these cell phones back. All that's taking away from the instructional time. I do believe that the teachers want this help. I think parents do too, because they get tired of us calling them about coming to the school to pick up the phone because it's their child's third time. I see the hindrance, but I also see the weight of this 8R, however it's written, when teachers have to comply and implement. Because I heard someone say, the teachers need to. And I know if Mr. Campbell's listening, he's gonna say, well, what does the parents do? We need help. We need this help. So, cutting it short, I'm saying, I think it's a good idea that we have an AR to back up, but it's gonna be difficult to get 100% buy-in for them not to have their phones during the school day. Thank you.
Right. Next, we have Colonel Guyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This morning, I got a chance to visit with the principal of Port Royal Elementary. And I asked her, how many of your elementary school students have cell phones? She said, many. I said, really? She said, most are hand-me-down phones. When the parents buy a new phone, they give the old phone to the child, but it's not hooked up to get, a cell reception, but it's hooked up mostly for the family's Wi-Fi, and they will not allow them to use the school Wi-Fi. So they're used for games. They're used they can use a computer on it. She said some of them do have actual subscriptions, mostly the 4th and 5th grade. And I started thinking, I've got this watch here, and you can get this watch where it only will link to your cell phone, but for $9 extra a month, I can call on this watch and receive calls. I can text on this watch. And so this technology is spreading out. It's not just cell phones. And so it's going to be a constant Robin Hood game that we're going to be playing with the students on how they're going to, take my cell phone, no problem. I got my watch. You can take my watch too? Yep. And then next thing we know, we'll be implanting, muscle implanting stuff in our brains. This is not the end of this issue. This is something that we are going to be living with for the near and far future. Because if you look at the history of how phones have gone in from party lines to Ma Bells to many different providers and cables and so on. This is not going to be a solution that we're going to find today that'll work for tomorrow. We're going to have to continually stay on top of this.
Next is Earl Campbell.
I heard someone said that the students are addicted to the phone. Well, I think the parents are addicted. We as adults are addicted. You can go anywhere you see, and somebody got a cell phone up on the air. It's ridiculous. The House is supposed to be talking about coming up with a bill, but the Congress is also saying that they are going to come out with something to ban cell phones in schools. So what are you going to do? So that's just my thing. And I think these parents need to be a little bit more responsible. A child in elementary or middle school ain't got no business with no phones, period. That's just my take. Thank you.
All right, Victor, and then we'll do Carlton. So Victor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As far as the current policy goes, if it was effective, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So I don't think the current policy is effective, and I think just kind of restarting it is not going to be effective. As some of the other board members said, I think it's a losing strategy to place the burden on the teacher. Discipline, as was mentioned, discipline is at an all-time high. Our discipline issues are an all-time high. We have teachers leaving because of discipline issues, and now we're going to ask if we ask the teachers to increase those discipline frictions by removing phones, kids are not going to want to engage with the teacher when the teacher is always the bad person, representing, taking away the phones and all that kind of stuff. So teacher enforcement, I believe, should be the last resort. And then as far as everything that Mr. Guy just mentioned, I think as more and more states come on board, and more states are, I think it's going to become a national issue and then an international issue. And hopefully it's a slow ship that we're turning here, but people will start to see the benefit, scores turning around, achievement gaps closing, scores rising. Hopefully as a society, we'll start to see this sooner rather than later. But it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better. I said that months and months ago at the SIC meeting, but it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better because, as also was mentioned, there are addictions on both ends, both the parents and the children. Parents are addicted to the immediate contact that they can have with their kids. The kids are addicted to all the dopamine rushes that they're getting from their phones. And I will say, if we're going to ban phones, I'd be all about it. Whether we not at this point that we say that we have the ability to ban phones, I think we can. There's a lot of kids that have pocket-sized BB guns, and we don't allow them to bring that to school. So what's the difference in a phone? In the way I see it, anyways. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Carlton Dallas?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too agree with so many of the points that have been made here. And I think we gotta move on it. I think we're going to have to move on it based on systemic enforcement. That starts at the top of the board, reinforcing it as we migrate, navigate through the community. I think one, have a messaging campaign to share with the larger community the negative impact that phones and social media have on learning. We're spending millions of dollars to improve scores, and yet to a large degree, social media robs those kids of their time to actually study and practice. Phones rob them of a little bit of their independence and their confidence because they are so tied to this phone and who's saying what. And it is a larger problem. It goes back to 1996 with the Communications Act of 1996, Section 230, when to promote large entities contributing to political campaigns, carte blanche to all emerging social media. Europe has addressed it a lot more aggressively than the U.S. There's some models there, how they control it better, not completely, but better than we do. And I think we need to look at some of the cultures where phones just are not allowed. And that messaging campaign, I think, should include very specific information, easily understood, easily conveyed, so that parents know, we know you as parents care about your kids. Here's something that is really critically important to helping your kid be competitive in a global society. And so that's what I would suggest. I think another thing is to actually inform the media. If we ever get to a calibrated point on it, and we say yes, not the media, I'm sorry, the legislature, so that they know we're behind them if they have if they have, but we're behind them when they move forward on this bill. Because I think all of America is beginning to see the negative impact of phones and how it really sort of hinders learning. So thank you.
I haven't spoken, so I'll add a few things. I think a lot of the comments already have been really excellent by my colleagues. You know, there's no question that cell phones are detrimental to academic achievement by the student that has the cell phone, but also by the other students in that classroom that are communicating with that child. So it's affecting everybody. Social media is designed to be addictive. It's designed that way. They've shown that. And that's why this problem is so hard for schools to try to address. It's an addiction, and it's an addiction has been brought out for the student and an addiction for the parents. And that's a real problem to try to turn around an addiction and remove it from the classroom. I don't think there's a quick fix. I think we definitely need parental support. We need to have the parents and the kids on board to address this issue. If it was an easily solvable problem, it would be already fixed. It's not. So I agree with Mr. Dallas. It needs, I would say KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I already expressed my my opinion about the AR. Way too wordy, way too many if this, if that, you know. I think it has to be, my preference probably would be just ban them in the schools. I just think that's the only way that you can really keep it simple, and I concur. Yes, our educators in the classroom obviously have to be involved with enforcement, and that's going to be super hard, and we don't want to put a huge burden on them. And I think if they can use it for the 5 minutes before lunch or the 10 minutes after lunch or whatever. It's getting way too complicated. It just has to be much, much simpler than that. But we absolutely have to have buy-in from the students and the parents and the community. And so I think, Dr. Rodriguez, I want to compliment you on starting this. It's not an easy thing to start. And I think a lot of good points have been raised, and those I think everybody's weighed in and made very good points. All right, Dr. Wisniewski's been waiting to speak again.
Just one last thing. To build on what Mr. Dallas said about a coordinated PR kind of campaign for parents. I know we're waiting until June to see what the legislature does. Summer's going to be busy for a lot of families, and I know we also, and shorter this year. And I know that we also want parental feedback. We have a fantastic communications department. I would just implore you all to begin that process now. It appears, based on the conversation here and what you've stated, that something is going to happen before the start of the school year. So let's start the communication and make it pretty aggressive so that we get that parental buy-in and they are prepping their students before the school year starts, and therefore that trickles down into hopefully less enforcement being needed. I just think we need to start now on that piece. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Smith?
I do understand what my colleague just said, but my only thing about this is, as I heard one of the board members said as well, is that we must get student inputs. Students have to buy in no matter what we put in place, and at some point in time, it's no different than having a football team. We have to get the students in this district to have pride in this district and have pride in their schools to help us lead as well. And I do agree with not going to say, I do agree with you, Dr. Wisniewski, about you and Mr. Dallas about getting the parents to buy in. Is good, but we must also get the students to buy in and understand why we're doing what we're doing, because we care about them, and that we're trying to get them to focus more on their classwork than actually what's going on outside of school. So that's just something I want to put out there to get not just the parents' understanding of it, but to get the students' buy-in of it and negotiation of it and what that looks like and how we can put something in plan without worrying about anyone. Because as has been stated, we already have an AR. We reactivate the AR and get people to buy in at every level, at every crook and every cran in this community, to tell them we want less cell phones as possible out during the educational process. Thank you all.
Mr. Nay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had one save round. I think it's okay to remove pager from description of electronic devices. I'm just saying.
There are few. But very few.
All right, that concludes your report, Dr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Next, we're up to board business action regarding the 2024-2025 budget certification. Colonel Guyer?
Madam Chair, it is now time to approve our operations budget and our debt service budget. We have two motions. I will read the first motion, will be the operations budget, and Ms. Crosby will be able to answer any questions. The motion follows. I move that the Beaufort County Board of Education approve and certify the fiscal year 2024-2025 general fund budget in the amount of $359,170,000 with an operations millage rate of 121.8 mils.
Second.
So the motion made by Colonel Guyer and second by Victor Ney. And why don't we, do you want to say a few points? You don't have to go page by page, but.
Correct,
yeah.
yes. Most of the presentation is what you've already seen. It's just a summary. I did want to mention we had a presentation yesterday afternoon with County Council Finance Committee. It was very well received. We did the same or very similar presentation. We had a few questions and which we were able to answer. They celebrated Dr. Rodriguez a little bit there, his recent accomplishment. They ultimately, with unanimous consent, the committee approved the agenda item to be moved forward to full council for first reading of the budget ordinance on Tuesday, May 28th. Contingent upon the board's final approval this evening. So they did allow us to go ahead and move it forward to first reading, contingent upon your approval. So I'm very excited that we were able to do that, and so otherwise may have had a special called committee meeting. So that was very appreciated. Also, we provided the budget flyer, which you have a copy of in your packet tonight. We emailed that to all of the council members as well as all of the board members so they can, it's just a brief summary with all the major details of compensation, which is one of the main pieces of our, the focuses of our budget this year. So those are basically the details.
I think the other point I would add is just a reminder that there is no millage increase in this budget.
That's right. Yes. All right. Do we have any questions from board members? Dr. Wisniewski?
I just have a suggestion. The one pager with your lovely photo on it, Frank, I would just make a suggestion for this when it's pushed out to other people, maybe say millage/tax increase, just so that the general public is more. Listen, when I learned what millage was, it made me go cross-eyed, so
Yeah.
I think no tax increase sings a lot better.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I thought you wanted my picture out, which is fine. That would have been a much better recommendation.
That's right. All right. Mr. Smith?
One thing I will say in terms of this budget is that, first, Mrs. Crosby, Dr. Crosby, Mrs. Crosby, I appreciate the professionalism from you and your team, as well as from Dr. Rodriguez as well. And I just want to say this, in terms of this budget, there are a couple things that we weren't able to squeeze in this budget this year, in terms of bringing back staff, staff of custodians and a couple other custodians and a couple other things that I would like to see in the further budget coming moving forward, because these people are taxpayers, and when we go out to do, we do go out for bond referendums, and we must always remember that these people, not these people, they're these members of our communities. They are very important when it comes to their health care and different things, and that I'm just looking forward to see those things and for us to moving forward, how we can put that into further further budgets. Thank you. Further budgets moving forward in terms of having them in-house as district employees. So I just want to put that in there tonight. I will support it because I appreciate the diligence of you and your team. But I am looking for that in the future budget, or the budget that will come next year, for us to start moving in that direction. Thank you.
All right, there being no further hands up, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor of certifying the budget as proposed, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. And
Vote right, aye.
Martin? Gordon, aye.
Hey, aye.
all right, so the operations budget is certified 10-0-0.
Madam Chair, we're now going to talk about the debt service, and this pays principal and interest on our referendum and 8% debt. Madam Chair, I move that the Beaufort County Board of Education approve and certify the fiscal year 2024-2025 debt service fund budget in the amount of $108,063,241 with a debt service millage rate of 36.3 mils.
Okay. All right, second by Earl Campbell. And would you like to make a few comments regarding this?
Colonel Guyer spoke very well on this topic. Debt service fund is very simple. It has tax revenue coming in and principal and interest payments going out. That's pretty much, it's very simple and easy. These are based on projections of the principal and interest payments coming from our financial advisor over the next 12 months from July 1 to June 30. So it's pretty simple, and there is also no millage increase required or requested of this budget as well.
Any questions from the board members? Mr. Smith?
Mrs. Crosby, I do hear what you're saying, but in the most simplest term, for the people who don't understand why exactly should we be voting for this? Like, what does that mean in terms of us voting in terms of support today?
Operational expectation, I believe it is 6, requires the board to approve both the general fund operating and the general fund debts, or the debt service fund budgets. So they are both required, so that's why I bring them both forward. There were some details in your last packet of each fund, but basically it is tax revenue coming in of $108 million, and tax revenue going out in the form of principal and interest payments on our bonds. So it's pretty simple with keeping a fund balance at the minimal level so that we're able in case of an emergency. So pretty simple. It's a separate line item on the tax bill, and it is required by board policy.
Thank you, Mrs. Crosby. That's exactly what I was looking for to educate the community. Thank you.
All right, there being no further hands up, we will now take the vote on approval or certifying the debt service budget for 2024-2025. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Online?
Vote right, aye.
Dallas, aye. Sorry.
Gordon, aye.
Hey, aye.
Okay. Yep. So the debt service budget is also unanimously approved, 10-0-0.
All right, and I'll update the board on each of the next 3 readings and let you know how it goes through communication, regular communications office, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Crosby. Colonel Guyer?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, the consent agenda motion was made by Colonel Guyer and second by Victor Ney. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And online?
Right, aye.
Dallas, aye.
Gordon, aye.
Hey, aye.
Any nays?
Smithson, nay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so the motion carries 9-1-0. All right. Next, we have future agenda topics. If you'd like to provide an agenda topic, just raise your hand. Ingrid?
Yeah, can we get, this is not an agenda topic, but can we get a follow-up? We had approved an electronic public comment card, and I know it even had been designed, but I don't hear it in the instructions, so I just would like an update on that.
Okay, thank you. All right. You still have your hand up? You have another? Ingrid?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem.
I'm good.
All right.
I just thought it's a lot.
All right, next on our agenda, we have announcements, and first up is Dr. Rachel Wisniewski, the District 7 representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope you all will allow me just a couple minutes more of your time this evening. I believe most of you already know, but I'd like to publicly announce that I will be vacating my seat on the school board in early June due to my pending move out of district. Beaufort County has been home my entire life. I was born, raised, and educated here in BCSD schools. My dedication to my roots and children is what drove me to run for the school board, and I've been blessed to be twice elected as the District 7 Board of Education representative. I'm beyond grateful to have had the opportunity to represent the Bluffton community. Hang on, sorry.
Take your time. Please take your time.
I was trying not to.
No rush. Take your time.
So I set out with a few goals while in this seat, one being to diversify sources of our revenue streams. I'm extremely pleased that with the board directive and renewed focus on grants opportunities, combined with Dr. Stratos and her amazing team, to align those grants to our board and district priorities, we've been able to offer some incredible options and programs to our students. Another goal was to strengthen our safety and security initiatives. I am extremely proud to have drafted and implemented the first board policy on safety and security, as well as passing the requirement that all of our schools, elementary included, be required to have at least one security officer or SRO. Beaufort County now leads South Carolina in prioritizing student and staff safety, and for that, I am forever grateful. One of the first and most important tasks that we had when I first came on the board was to hire the next leader of Beaufort County School District. Dr. Rodriguez was the obvious choice for that position, and I have no doubt that he will continue to lead BCSD with integrity and thoughtfulness. Frank, you've always been responsive and open to honest discussion on the hard topics. I appreciate your candor and the considerate, respectful relationship we've built serving the students, staff, and citizens of this county. I'd also like to thank my fellow board members, past and present, for their dedication to our students in Beaufort County and for serving. At times, this is a thankless role and one that I believe none of us stepped into lightly. Thank you for listening and for engaging in this productive and important work. My ask of all of you as I depart is that you continue to use a student-focused lens along with a data-driven approach to leading the district. Lastly, I'd like to thank my family, especially my daughters, Sophie, Scarlett, and Shelby, who have been my biggest cheerleaders since I took on the responsibility of District 7 rep. They have sacrificed many days and nights away from their mom so that I could serve our community in this capacity, but they always provided words of encouragement like, "Have a great meeting, Mom," as I left. I am beyond blessed that God chose me to be their mom. Thank you all again for allowing me the honor of serving for and with you.
I would like to just say a few words. So, Dr. Wisniewski called me and told me, what she just announced to the public. And I said some things to her that I would also like to say publicly. I have served with you for the entire time you've been on the board, and it's been a pleasure to be your colleague. You have brought so much to this board. You are always well-prepared, thoughtful, intelligent and intellectual about your decision-making, always have children first. I know you have been a very busy lady as a mother of young children. I don't know how you've done it. I personally waited until my children were grown before I ran for the school board because I didn't think I could do it with a full-time job. So as Bill Payne used to say, one of our former board members, you deserve to be commended. And you have been such an asset to this board and to the students and families and the community that you've served, and to Beaufort County as a whole. And we will miss you. I'm sure you'll do wonderful things where you're headed, and they are very fortunate to have you. And I just, personally, I found it hard to accept that you're leaving, especially since this has been where you have lived your entire life. And thank you so much, Rachel, for stepping up and serving. You've done a great job, and you've always taken on a great leadership role. Whenever I contacted you, you were wonderful about volunteering. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Rodriguez.
Again, on behalf of my staff and certainly myself, Rachel, I want to thank you for affording me the opportunity to lead here in Beaufort County. Thank you for that. I have certainly a responsibility that I take greatly, and I appreciate all of our dialogues over the years, because all of those have served to help make Beaufort County better. And so I appreciate your insights on things, your engagement with the community and sharing those thoughts with me too. Those are all very helpful in leading school districts, and I appreciate working alongside you here in leading Beaufort County. Thank you.
I just want to say that.
Yep, just a minute, Colton.
Pleasure.
Your mic, Mr. Campbell.
It's been a pleasure since you came on the board, and you're gonna be missed. Thank you.
All right, we'll go to Carlton and then Victor.
I have other announcements also.
Dr. Wisniewski, it's been an absolute pleasure. I never knew you really before coming on the board, but I've always been impressed by your intellectual prowess, your analytical chops, and yet your refined way of delivering your message. Both win-win. So Godspeed in your life's journey, ma'am.
Thank you.
Colonel Geyer, and then Ingrid Boatwright.
I'm going to miss you. I don't like to get into details. You do. And I appreciate all the time you spent and all the energy that you used to make sure that what we wanted to do was properly documented. And I don't know how we're going to replace. We're going to have to get. You're going to have to find somebody else in your district to come in and take your place, because we will miss you greatly.
All right, Ingrid.
Yes, as all my colleagues have said, I share all those sentiments, but I have to say, I think it is the perfect final comments of Rachel's board career that she said, directed the superintendent to change may notify law enforcement to will notify law enforcement. I thought that was a great tap to everything you've done over the board. So thanks for everything. And yes, I agree. Let's find somebody that can fill those shoes, because those are very difficult shoes to fill.
Victor, did you want to say?
Yes, but I also have other announcements if you want to.
Okay, well, let's stay on this one because we still have other people that want to speak. Okay, so Chloe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh, Miss Rachel, I really appreciate you coming on board last year and listening to you, watching you navigate. I aspire to be closely in your footsteps. but I know I can't be in your footsteps because you have set this up so uniquely that it's going to be hard to replace you. I appreciate everything you say, what you do, how you go about it, and, showing leadership. So I'm going to miss you, but I do understand that when you got to go, you got to go. But know that I admire you. I really do. And thank you for all that you've done for Beaufort County.
All right, now we'll let Victor move.
Dr. Wisniewski, you've been an incredible example to a freshman board member on what it means to be detailed and data-driven. I spend a considerable amount of time. I feel like still, a year and a half into this, I still feel like I'm trying to catch up to a moving train. So when I'm doing all my time in the pre-read, I think to myself, what is Rachel looking at in this, and what are the little Easter eggs in here that I should be picking out? And I never find them. So I hope that maybe one day I can get to the type of detail or that almost surgical way that you have of being able to cut through all the information and dig to the matter of things. So I wish you the best and congratulations and to everything that's coming your way. I appreciate you. Thank you. As far as my other announcements, if you don't mind me segueing, thank you, Madam Chair. Since our last meeting, I attended two wonderful events. The first one was the Cinderella Fellow Ball. For our physically abled and our exceptional learner community. And what an amazing event. I had an incredible time getting to know some of the community there, and also interacting with Mr. Geyer and some of our staff. Deidre Holmes and Dr. White were also there, and a few others that I'm not aware of. But what a great event, and I had such a wonderful time. I was very humbled to receive an invitation. The other one that I attended was the Teacher Support Staff of the Year at Okeechobee Elementary. I was very humbled to be invited to that, and for Mrs. Lenise to allow me to be a part of such a cloisteral and intimate ceremony within a school, because that is their community, and I was just there representing the staff and lucky to be a part of it. So I just wanted to put some good news out there, and not having me so downer tonight. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Mr. Smith?
Actually, yeah, just to go off of his, this crown actually came from that Cinderella Fellow Ball, and this bag as well. The things in this bag, if anyone wanted to see it, they did a very good job putting this together, as well as my wand. I brought tonight just to, didn't know Rachel, Dr. Wisniewski was going to wand us with a surprise tonight. To that degree, Dr. Wisniewski, it's been different. We've, from her going to, you're the youngest on the board member, on the board, and now I'm older than you, and me telling her, she's older, I'm no older than her, it's shocking, but, I wish you well. I wish you and your family well. Godspeed.
All right, looks like we're on to the second public comments, and we don't have any online or in person, okay? Well, without further ado, if there's no objection, we can adjourn by unanimous consent. And thank you for all that were in attendance.